It's Thursday morning here at Matchbook HQ, and joining me to preview day 4 of Wimbledon is Nigel Seeley. Nigel, you joined us on Monday, 4 out of 6. But how's the rest of the tournament been going for you so far?
Not great, Sully. Not great. Yesterday was a terrible day. We had 5 selections. 3 of them got injured. 1 of them was void. 1 of them played on and lost the handicap by 3, done 3.5 and lost by 4. Then we had Gasparin, who was a -3.5, a +3.5 against Svitolina, cruising. Then she crooked down her knee, had to retire. We had Kecmanovic, who was playing really, really well in his first set against Benoit Paire, played really well in the second set as well. Then he fell over, got injured. And then we had Karlovic, who narrowly got beaten a 5-setter. Granolis, who was very, very poor. But really, it was one of those really frustrating days. I mean, you don't mind losing. I mean, that's the nature of punting. You know, you don't mind taking. You take the highs with the lows. Any professional gambler, any successful gambler, realise that's the nature of the business we're in. But to have so many bad beats in one single day was a real hard nut to take, really. And we bounced back today. I mean, we've got a long way to go. Our outright positions are looking very good. You know, say it's only day 4 or 14, but usually you want money in the hod the first week. You want the money in the hod, because the second week I find a lot harder, because it's much more predictable. There isn't so much value. So really, in the Grand Slams, you want to be in front going into the Monday. So we've got a bit of work to do, but I'm confident we can turn it around.
Yeah, we're going to slow it down today. We're only going to do 2 of the men's games, so I like that, just to kind of compartmentalise a bit. Let's look at probably the marquee game of the day on centre court, probably around 3 or 4 o'clock today. It's Nick Kyrgios and Rafael Nadal. Now, Kyrgios, his price, I'm kind of surprised by this night, just 3.7 last night. He's 4.0 currently. Rafael Nadal, 1.31. The handicap is 5. Kyrgios obviously getting the start at 1.98, and the total is 39. Love him or hate him, but Nick Kyrgios, you can never be bored of this guy, Nigel. He beat Nadal back here in 2014. Can he do it again today?
He can. He definitely can. I think the conditions will suit him. It's hot, which will mean that his serve will be very, very hard to return. He went down injured in his first round match against Thompson, but then he recovered. So he lost the set 6-love, and then he recovered and come back at 1-6-1. You never really know. No one can tell what Nick Kyrgios is going to turn up, and that's the question mark that the punters have got today. Obviously, Nadal will have 99.99, maybe even 100% of the crowd. I mean, there may be a few Aussies in the crowd who might cheer Kyrgios on, but even them, I think, will find a soft spot for Nadal. And that will actually play into Kyrgios' hands. He will love the fact that he's the underdog. He will love the fact. But he can turn the crowd around. If he plays to his potential and gets them going, he can turn the crowd around. And this will be a very, very difficult match for Nadal. I mean, if you ask Nadal who he could second round opponent would be, Nick Kyrgios would certainly not be up there in his high list of contenders, because on his day he is probably in the top 5. Maybe, you know, I'll probably be a bit over. I like him on grass, and I think he could win Wimbledon. That's how strongly I believe he's that good. But I think he's one of the top 5, top 10 grass court players in the world, and he's got a better grass court game than Nadal. But when it comes, if you were scoring them out of 100 on their grass court ability, he's probably as good or as a level on Nadal. If you scored them on their mental capacity, Nadal's a 10 out of 10, Kyrgios is a 0 out of 10. And that's the difference where this game's going to come down to. It's going to come down to whether he really wants it, whether he fancies it. And if he fancies it, he will trouble him. If you look at the head-to-head, Sully, they played 6 times. The first time they met was at Wimbledon, and he won in 4 sets. Nadal, I think Nadal's not as good as he was then, sorry, not as good now as he was then. So, you know, but Kyrgios has obviously gone backwards as well. But if you look at all their matches that they played on fast courts, hard courts, you know, they played in Acapulco this year. Kyrgios won again in 3 sets. They played outdoors on hards in Cincinnati. Kyrgios won 6-2, 7-5. The only ones that Nadal have been one on clay. You know, 2 on clay and 1 on hard in Beijing. But that was not a very, very fast hard court surface. So the conditions will certainly suit Kyrgios. Now, can we have a bet on this game before the match? Well, it's difficult, but I think the 5 is a bet. I personally think Kyrgios, because if he does lose a set, he's likely to lose a set 7-6, 7-5. But there is a tendency where he completely has a wobble, completely loses the plot for 2 minutes and gets rattled 6-love, which is a big concern. But I think this is a perfect in-running betting event. If Kyrgios wins the first set, then the shock is on, and then he'll get the crowd going and he'll fancy it. And I would much rather take Kyrgios at probably about 7-4 or 2.75 after he's won the first set than I would do pre-game.
Well, that's it. You're still going to get a pretty good price considering what price he is now, Nigel. And it's the factor of Nadal because, you know, one of these top guys, they go a set down. You fully recovered. You fully expect the likes of, you know, Djokovic or Federer to kind of get back into the game. And I kind of get the sense that a lot of players, the lower tier players, when they play Nadal, they're kind of beaten before they go out there. But Kyrgios just doesn't seem to have that kind of fear of him. You said, like, they played 6 times and he's won 3 games, Nadal's won 3, and he doesn't have that kind of fear factor. He was spotted, by the way, in the Dog and Fox last night, Nigel, so I don't know. He probably didn't have a few tinnies, but you know him. He's probably the kind of guy that would be kind of relaxed going into this kind of game. And like tennis is such a mental game, Nigel, and Kyrgios doesn't seem to have that hang up about Nadal.
Well, no, the other thing is Nadal's been beaten by shock opponents at Wimbledon over the last few years. I mean, the last couple of years he's been beaten early. Dustin Brown beat him, and other players who are big underdogs have beat him. So you know, it's a big transition to go from clay into grass in such a short time. He breezed through the French Open, absolutely breezed through it, and he probably didn't play a game longer than probably 2 hours, and now out around 10 minutes. This game will be long, even if it's a straight sets match. It's going to be long because the match, you know, the Kyrgios will have a lot of tie breaks. So you are looking at probably a 3-hour plus game. Is Nadal fit? If he goes into a 5th set, deep 5th set, and Kyrgios thinks he's got an in with a chance of winning this, I think he can beat him. I really do. But we are taking, you know, I've said it before about Kyrgios, but if he'd have a time for a squiggle next to his name if he was a racehorse, he's just, you just do not know what to expect. And that's what we have to have with every time anyone places a bet on his game. But if he puts it to his mind to it and fancies the challenge, tomorrow morning, we'll all be sitting there thinking, why didn't we take the 5? Why didn't we take the 3? But likewise, he could lose 6-2, 6-love, 6-3, and we turn around and say, well, I'll never trust this bloke again as far as we can throw him. So it's a really difficult one to call. But I do think the strategy for this game is to play in running. If Kyrgios wins the first set, I'd back him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're kind of talking about this kind of the younger tier of players. No, we've lost Zverev, we've lost Tim, we've lost Tsitsipas already, and we're you know, just into round 2, and you're hoping that like Kyrgios, who's bags of talent, can finally kind of make it and matter this time around. So +5 for Nigel there, and you can back that at 2.01.
If you just comparing those, Sully, you talk about the young players. You look at him to what Coco Gauff is doing. You know, the mental strength she's showing compared to what Kyrgios has got. Now, arguably, he's got a better grass court game, and arguably, when he burst on the scene, everyone said he was a future Wimbledon champion. But this just shows you how much mental, you know, in any sport, but especially tennis, mental strength is everything. And you know what that girl's doing. She's not setting the world alight for her tennis game. She's fast. She's good around the court. But it's her belief and it's her what she's doing on crucial points, and she's holding her serve and not being beaten, and she's got that under control. Whereas Kyrgios is just a complete and utter lunatic. You know, that's the difference.
Absolutely. Coco 60.0 here yesterday morning. Nigel, now it's 17.0. So,
well, she can't win it. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, she'll get to a semi-final, quarter-final, and she'll realise where she is. I mean, the last 16 rounds, I'm going on the Monday, and I'm hoping that she should play Simona Halep or Azarenka if the draw runs out. That's the game, you know. And she hasn't played centre court yet in her career. At the moment, ticking every box, but you know, there will be one stage where she wakes up and realises. I text my little boy after the game and said to him, you know, like, I just watched a 15-year-old win 80 grand and knock a 7 times world champion. He said he was playing FIFA 19 in his pants in his bedroom, gone down McDonald's.
Hey, when I was 15, I was doing that too. Don't be just putting it on Nigel.
I'm doing it at 46.
Let's keep things in perspective. She's a bit of a freak. Let's be honest. Yeah. Right, let's move on to your second pick of today. Dominic Kupfer against Diego Schwartzman. This kicking off should be around 2:30. Betting currently Kupfer at 3.08. Bit of a grass specialist is Kupfer. Schwartzman at 1.45. The handicap, Kupfer is getting a 4.5 game start on the handicap, and the total is 37, slightly favouring the over. Dominic Kupfer, really good on grass. Schwartzman, and he's only won like 6 games in his career, Nigel.
5 of them this year.
How did he short?
5 of them this year as well. I mean, he hadn't won one game in 4 years on grass. He's a named player. He's a named player, and that's what it is. Kopfer's a bit of an unknown. Come through qualifying 11-2 on grass courts. Got to the final of the Ilkley Challenger. No one really knows much about him, but he can play grass. So there's a lot of German players who come through qualifying who are big and strong. Who grass court is their season, and this is what the boy is all about. His game is tailored for grass. I think the plus 4.5 is a tremendous bet. Schwartzman has one thing I did notice when I went on Monday, there was a huge amount of Argentinians in the crowd. You know, everywhere you look, there was people wearing Messi shirts and Maradona shirts. There was lots of them. So the Argentinian players are going to get a lot of support here. You know, Schwartzman's never been used to that, and obviously he's going to be on an outside court where there's not going to be many people watching. So it could be quite a partisan crowd towards Schwartzman. But I think that the prices, I don't understand it. I mean, like I say, Schwartzman, apart from this season where he's 5-2 on grass, he hasn't really beaten anyone of any note, though, to be fair. He beat Matthew Ebden in the first round, who was really very poor. He's had a terrible year. But, you know, prior to that, 1 win on grass in 4 years, and now he's a heavy odds on favourite, and to make the last 32 at Wimbledon, I'm not having it. I'm going to take a chance on Kopfer here. I think the outright price is a decent price as well, and around about 2-1, I think that's a decent price. But I do think the 4.5 is the angle. Again, the only slight concern I have for it is a lot of clay court players, who are specialists like Schwartzman, win sets quite easy. So when they do win a set, they'll win it 6-3, 6-2, whereas the grass court players really play up to the tie breaks. So you get 7-6, 7-5. So the chances are that the Kopfer sets will be won quite low makeups, whereas if Schwartzman does take a set, he could win with a quite convincing scoreline, which is a slight worry. But I do think the prices on the matches are wrong on the outright market, which makes everything else wrong. So if you've got the outright prices wrong, the handicap becomes wrong, the set betting comes wrong. I'd love to be laying on the exchange 3-0 Schwartzman. I mean that will be wrong as well. You probably have to lay a little bit of a higher.
Yeah, currently about 3.15.
I mean that's to me. I mean Kopfer. I think Kopfer will definitely take a set off him at 3.1. I mean, so that means that obviously the match price. If you think the match price are wrong, every related market then is wrong. So that brings in the 3.5.
How wrong are they, Nigel? So where would you put Schwartzman here? Would you put him at about 1.6 shot, or where would you be?
I price up every single game, and I had this game as a 4-7, 5-4 match. So, you know, and then, you know, sometimes you're a little bit out, but, you know, you're not millions of miles out. So if you put the true price probably between the 5-4 and the 2-1, so maybe a 6-4 shot at a push. But I think he's got everything going for him. I think he can play on grass. Schwartzman can't play on grass. Schwartzman's got a terrible Wimbledon record. And you see so many of these young kids who come through and just see them for these 2 weeks and they do nothing again for the year, and Kopfer could fall into that category.
And I know you thought that Schwartzman was kind of vulnerable against Matthew Ebden. You tweeted about it last night. But I think with Ebden, from just watching that game, it seemed to be that he just lost the game through his just kind of lack of fitness.
Lack of fitness and lack of form. He hasn't had a good season, but really, you know, he had him on the ropes. He got to one set all, and then I thought we had a good chance, and then he just capitulated, like you say, due to fitness. But there's a lot of players that are coming here who are falling away in the second week. It just shows you and we're only in June. You've got to go till November. It just shows you what a huge season and how long season it is. But the thing is, these players are playing for so much money that they have to turn up, because they get 43 grand if they get knocked out in the first round. So, you know, Matthew Ebden would probably earn that in 4 months. So it's a big payday for them. They've got to turn up. So yeah, that was a point, but I don't see any reason why Schwartzman should be the short price he is, and I do think Kopfer on the handicap is probably one of the best bets of the day.
Speaking of which, of those two, so Kopfer plus 4.5 or Kyrgios plus 5, which one's the best?
Kopfer plus 4.5.
Mainly because Kyrgios is an absolute bandpot, essentially.
He's a 1 point bet pre-match, but if he wins the first set, then he becomes a which anything can still happen, but he becomes a 1.5 point bet. But Kopfer's steady. You know what you're going to get. He's not going to make many errors. He's going to be robotic-like. And Schwartzman isn't come from the surface. Once he's tested, let's see what he's got. And I don't think he'll want it too much if he's 2 sets to 1 down.
Yeah, the game needs characters, Nigel, and Kyrgios is anything but a character, obviously.
I like him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reminds me a bit of me.
We'll get into that some other time. It's hard not to like him. Nigel, pleasure as always. 2 bets there for Nigel. Don't forget, you haven't got a Matchbook account and you do want to get involved in the Wimbledon action, you can check out a risk-free offer, £10 risk-free bet at offer.matchbook.com. We'll have Nigel back for 3 times next week. I'm off tomorrow, so enjoy the weekend.